All right, the second part of Unit 5.1 is theoretical probabilities. Now, going back to what you've learned, theoretical probability is what are the chances of something happening theoretically? Like if I flip a coin, theoretically, what are the chances that I'm going to get heads? Theoretically, what are the chances that it's going to rain? Theoretically, what are the chances of rolling 2 5s when I roll 2 die? Okay, so what is the probability of a student guessing 2 correct answers if they're guessing on 4 questions? That's what example 2 is asking. So the way that we usually write probability is P parenthesis A. And P says what's the probability. A is the probability of what? So in this case, I would say what's the probability of guessing 2 answers correct? That's what would go on the inside. So in order to do this, I need to figure out, first of all, what are the total number of possibilities? And that's going to go on the bottom, okay? On the bottom is going to be the total possibilities. And on the top is going to be what are all the different ways I could get 2 correct answers. So up here would be the number of favorable outcomes is the way that we say that. So in order to do this, I need to know what my possibilities look like. So if I were to guess 4 answers, I could get all 4 of them wrong. Or I could get the first 3 wrong and the 4th one correct. Or I could get the first 2 wrong, a correct, and then a wrong. Or I could get 1 wrong, a correct, and then 2 wrongs. Or I could get 1 correct and then 3 wrong answers. I could also get all 4 of them correct, or the first 3 correct and then a wrong, or the 3rd one wrong but the other 3 correct, or the 2nd one wrong and the other 3 correct, or the first one wrong and the other 3 correct. So those are the different ways that could happen. But I could also get the first 2 wrong and the last 2 correct in some different way, right? I could get 2 wrong and 2 correct. I could also get the first one wrong, the 2 corrects in the middle, or I could get the 2 corrects at the beginning. I could also get 1 wrong, 1 correct, 1 wrong, 1 correct. Or I could get a correct one and then a wrong and then a correct or a wrong. And I think I'm missing one. Correct, wrong, wrong, correct. There we go. So there's 16 different possibilities, which I could have figured out earlier because I know that I'm guessing on 4 questions. And there's 2 possible answers to the first question, 2 to the second question, 2 to the third, 2 to the fourth. If I times those together, that tells me that my bottom number, the total possibilities are 16. What it wants to know is how many of those have 2 correct answers. Well, this one does, 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 this one does. The rest of these either have 1 or 3 correct answers. So 6 out of the 16 have exactly 2 correct answers. Usually when we're doing the probability, we simplify. So we would say the probability of getting 2 correct answers is 3 out of 8 chances of getting exactly 2 correct answers. All right. The probability of the complement of an event is like saying, what's the probability of not getting exactly 2? And the way that we write that is written right here. If it's the probability of something not happening, I would put the probability of A, but I don't want A to happen, so you put a line above it. In order to find that value, one option is I take 100% of the possibilities and I subtract how many times A happens. So for example, up here, if I have 3 out of 8 chances of getting exactly 2, then the probability of not getting 2 answers correct would be 1 minus those 3 over 8s, which would be 5 over 8. All right? So if you roll 2 6-sided dice, find the probability of each event. A says, what is the probability of the sum not being 6? So we would write that. What's the probability of not getting a 6? Well, first of all, I need to know how many total possibilities there are. there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. So I know there's 36 total possibilities. And I want to know how many of them are not 6s, don't add up to 6. So one way to do that is to just add them up and see what doesn't add up to 6. This doesn't add up to 6, or that one, or that one, or that one. This one does add up to 6. That one doesn't. Doesn't, 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 does, doesn't, 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 does not, doesn't, does not. This one does. These do not. This one doesn't. Okay, so when I look at this list, there are, let's see, where's my highlighter? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that add up to 6. So 5 out of the 36 add up to 6. So the probability of not getting a 6, I could either do 1 minus 5 over 36, or I could just count the ones that don't add up to 6 instead of the ones that do add up to 6, which is just going to be all the rest of them, which is 31 out of the 36. Okay, B, the sum is less than or equal to 9. So this time it wants to know that it adds up to a number 9 or less than 9. This one does. This one's less than 9, less than 9, less than 9, less. This one's 8, less, this. This one adds up to 9, which we want to count because we're equal to. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm not going to count that one. 6, 7, 8, 9. Not going to count those two. 7, 8, 9. Not going to count those 3. So the probability that these add up to a number less than or equal to 9, out of the 36, how many of them are less than or equal to 9? If I count all of those, I think I get 30 out of 36, which simplifies to be 15 over 18, which simplifies to be 5 over 6. So 5 out of 6 of them add up to a number less than or equal to 9. Okay? Couple more problems. You flip a coin, you roll a 6-sided die. What's the probability that the coin shows tails and the die shows 4? Okay. So if I flip a coin, I could get heads or tails, right? But I also have to roll a die. So there's going to be 6 of each. This is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, out of the total 12 possibilities, which one of them, how many of them have tails and a 4? Well, there's only one of those. So there's only 1 out of 12 chances of getting tails and a 4. So the possibility of a tails and a 4 is 1 out of 12. Find the complement of A. So it wants me to find what are the chances of A not happening. So if P of A is 0.45, P of not A is 1 minus 0.45, which is 0.55. If P of A is 1/4, the probability of not getting A is 1 minus 1/4, which is just 3/4. If P of A is 1, the probability of not getting A is 1 minus 1, which is 0, which means it's always going to happen. It's never not going to happen. The probability of A is 0.03. The probability of not A is 0.9. Oops, I didn't do the minus part, sorry. 1 minus 0.03, which is 0.97. All right, homework problems 8 through 12 look like what we just did. So stop the video, go do homework 8 through 12 if you want, or go ahead and move on to the next.